Hi everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to another Tea with EC. Today we're going to chat about Urisks from Scotland. So if you came across an Urisk, you would immediately recognise it from its satyr-like appearance. So half person, half goat. And they're known to be particularly shaggy, kind of hairy, often in rough clothing, which is common for descriptions of brownies as well, who seem to be closely associated with Urisks, although not quite the same thing. You might come across male or female Urisks. The female Urisks are quite closely associated with the Glastigs that we talked about in another week, particularly in terms of the goat-human connection, what they might do in terms of helping out on farms and herding cows, offerings of milk, association with lonely pools, quite a lot in common. So you might come across an Urisk in a farm, helping out, often herding the cattle, threshing the corn, that kind of thing. Or you might come across them in the highlands, in lonely mountainous areas, near lonely pools, near lonely waterfalls. You're getting a sense of the loneliness here. Urisks are known to be quite lonely creatures. Although they do occasionally all get together, all the solitary Urisks come together at a cave or corrie above Loch Katrine for a particular special occasion. Generally, it's considered pretty lucky to have an Urisk around. So they're helpful on the farm, they're hardworking, they're often wise and knowledgeable, although some stories suggest they're less clever. And generally they're not considered to be super dangerous. I did come across one source that had them as like having, long claws, scary long teeth, being terribly vicious and violent towards people, attacking them in gruesome ways. I'm inclined to discount it a little bit because it does contradict with pretty much all the other sources I found about Urisks. Keen to hear if anyone else has a different take on that. But generally they're helpful. If you're friendly to an Urisk, it will probably be friendly to you. The exception is probably that they have been particularly scary to lonely travellers because they want to make friends and they're really bad at it. So they're up in there by their pools and waterfalls, and during the summer months they get really lonely and they particularly crave human companionship given their half-human nature. And so they see travellers going past and they think, oh, I'm just going to follow that guy and make friends with him. And you can imagine if you're the lonely traveller going past a pool at night and suddenly this shadow detaches itself and starts following you, you don't really feel the goodwill of friendship towards it. You're kind of terrified and want to run away. And to add to that, Urisks apparently tell terrifying stories. And so if you're the poor Urisk, you're there following this traveller thinking, how can I make friends with this guy who keeps running away from me? Oh, I know, I'm going to tell him a great story. And if you're the traveller, you're running away from this shadowy shape that keeps telling you the scariest things you've ever heard and following you in the dark. Now, I don't have any really good stories about Urisks, which is a bit weird given how much information there is out there about them. There's lots of stories of the My Ainsel type, if you remember the little fairy girl who didn't give her name and the little child she played with who also didn't give his name. So stories of Urisks who have, found some humans, bothered them in some way. The humans have violently reacted. Honestly, the humans behave appallingly in these stories. But the humans prior to violently attacking the Urisk have often given their name as myself. And so when the Urisk says to his companions, I was hurt, they say, who did it? He says, myself. And they say, well, fix it yourself then. And then I came across two stories of Urisk sorcerers, which is particularly unusual. So one was a Urisk woman who disguised herself as a beautiful maiden and tried to offer some advice to a king's son. And when he didn't take it, she transformed into this hideous hag with skin like rocks and a snake in her bosom and a cudgel and killed him. And in another one, a widow's son wants to rescue three daughters of a king who have been stolen and taken across the sea. And he shares his bannock with an Urisk, who in return builds him this amazing ship that he can then use to travel and rescue the princesses. Now don't forget to check out the blog on Sunday for more information about Urisks and also for an illustration, of course. And I will see you all next week for more chatting about fairy tale folklore creatures. See you everyone.